Welcome back to the Viking Academy podcast. This week, if you're watching the video, you can see I'm not in my normal office space. I'm actually in Kelowna. I'm at one of my businesses that I own, and I am doing a remote podcast with Jessica Rimmer. Now, the reason why I didn't wait until I got home to do this is that I really wanted to make sure I got this podcast in with Jessica because I met her at Strategic Coach, like I meet a ton of the guests that I have on the Viking Academy podcast. She wrote a book called The Purpose Formula. And when I heard that in one of the workshops, I walked right up to her and I said, I need you on the Viking Academy podcast. We have to have a conversation about this. She articulates things in such a clear way, way better than I have actually, on all these topics of finding your purpose. Who are you and why you're here? So she talks about the book and how she birthed the book, and that what she does is she combines ancient wisdom with the current seeking of humanity right now, which is similar to what I'm doing with the Viking Academy, which is I'm taking the Viking spirit and coupling it with the current lost, what's the word I'm looking for? We're not really lost as a society, but we've lost purpose. I think we really have. We're going to need to go find ourselves. And so let's go explore our mind, body, and spirit and figure out who we are. So she goes through a 3D formula. I'm calling it a 3D. I don't think she actually called it that, where she goes through how you can actually start figuring out what your purpose is in life. And the book that she has coming out, I can't wait to read it. The resources will be in the podcast and probably in the show notes. Definitely get a copy of the book. Her goal is to get to 1 million purpose statements. I want to see if our Viking Academy readers can help her push to that goal. Okay, so there you go. Without further ado, let's get to the podcast. Let's go explore. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. So fun to be here.
So you and I met at the wellspring of all beautiful things, I think is called Strategic Coach. And we had met before. That was our second workshop we had done together. So we had an opportunity to talk a little bit. I think we had a breakout with one another. We had a chance to talk. But the last session we had, and the reason why I really want to get you on the podcast is I heard about the book that you just published called what?
The Purpose Formula.
Could not be more in alignment with the Viking Academy than that. I mean, for me, I really feel like the whole purpose of life is to figure out why you're here and what you're here to do. Like that's the whole ethos of the Viking Academy. We just do it through the exploration of mind, body, and spirit. So we'll call it personal development wrapped in a Viking blanket, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing. But the purpose formula, before we get into the purpose formula into the book, and this is where I really want to go, let's dive a little bit into what you do actually in your business, and then what led you to the book is kind of what I want to get to that.
Love it. Okay, so like most entrepreneurs, I do a lot of things, but our primary focus is organizational development. So we really focus on creating teams and leaders that are 100% healthy and they're multiplying their skills, knowledge, and expertise. Okay, so that's kind of the crux. My business is called Solomon Strategic Advisors, and our motto is wisdom for your way. So we really do believe, this is probably another way you and I are aligned. We believe in ancient wisdom for modern practice.
Of that.
Yes.
That's so much. Oh, okay.
So yes. So I built Solomon about 4 years ago. I've been consulting 7 years. My background is higher education. I've always been a purpose person. I've always felt a deep sense of purpose about my life. I know my life matters. I want that for other people. I've never had a job I didn't enjoy, no matter what it was. I'm always like, working is fun and working matters. And so I lead a group here. I'm in Oklahoma City, so middle of the United States, right? Like way center. And I lead a group.
I've been there. Oh yeah, because Rocklahoma.
You came to Rocklahoma in prior.
Yeah, I came to Rocklahoma. Oh geez, my wife and I went down there And Rocklahoma was probably, I'm going to say 17 years ago. We came down and we're 16, 17 years ago. And there's all the 80s heavy metal bands at Rocklahoma. Oh, so yes, I know Oklahoma City.
Okay, well, you're like way out. You're way out in the fields at
Yeah.
Rocklahoma.
Yes.
Oklahoma City and Tulsa are like as urban as we get, but I think Canada gets the fields, right? Like you guys understand that there's plenty
Yeah.
of fields out. So we're a little bit country, but it's a great place to live. And I lead a group here in Oklahoma City, and it's called Forward, and our focus is how do we embolden women in their faith and work. Now, my business isn't focused on women, but this group, we have about 100, 150 women that meet every month. And we have a speaker, and we are building this community of women who are for each other. And we really care about work, right? Your work matters. Your work matters to God. So, whatever someone believes about God, this is what we're talking about in this group. And out of this group, I got invited to speak at a conference that was focused on the same topic, women in work, women, faith and work. And they asked me to talk on the topic of purpose. And so I was like, sure, I can do that. And I write this talk, and I had people lining up to say, this was so helpful. And I thought, well, maybe I should write that down. And that's the pathway that led to writing a book. So the book is like, it's parallel to my company. I don't necessarily talk a lot about, I talk a lot about purpose, but I'm not very overtly faith oriented. My business is just a business, right? Like I'm helping you be more effective at your outcomes that you're going for. But you and I both know that purpose-driven leadership is transformational. And so that's kind of the Venn diagram of overlap between the book and the work is how do we help leaders lead with a sense of purpose? Because when you have it, very powerful. When you don't have it, powerful in a different direction.
Yes. And more, shall we say, fear-based. There's more fear-based when you're driving towards a bigger, brighter future that doesn't have an underlying purpose. And there's so many roads I want to go down here with you. Okay, so the group that you're with, is it a specific faith that you're all following? Like, do you all have the same kind of?
Great question. So we always say like wherever you are in terms of faith, you're welcome at our group, but we don't want to trick anybody. We are going to talk about Jesus. We are going to talk. So that's our perspective on the conversation, but we always say you are welcome to be a part wherever you live, in the faith conversation, you are welcome to be a part of our group.
Yeah. And so this is, I love that because there's that openness, right? And that's for me is with the Viking Academy, the idea of exploring your spirit, like the mind, body, and spirit. So go explore your spirit. So go explore all the different aspects. And I'm a recovering alcoholic, so I've deep into the 12 steps, and it's all about seeking a higher power. And also in step 11, sought through prayer and meditation, it says go, and the world is a treasure trove. And so I've read all these different books, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Colburn Bible, the Hebrew Bible. Like I've gone after everything, right? And for me, it was like, because it's open, it makes a big pathway for anybody to walk through. Do you know what I mean? And that's why I like that openness. But once you have that, for me, once I had that connection to spirit, and I know what I'm doing has purpose, all of a sudden I have passion. And now that's for me, that's where you and I are like that connection of that passion. It's like, I want that passion there to be part of my life. And so I love how you've got that group and it's open to all, but you're still saying, we're going to talk about Jesus. We're going to talk about the Bible. We're going to talk about God. Great. But it's open to all. And so through that pathway, you had that conversation about purpose. You spoke about purpose. And then all of a sudden people start asking you about it. And then how did you go about writing the book? Because I know I've written a book and it was a birthing process. It was a lot of work.
It is a birthing process. I think that's such a good way to think about it for anybody who might be listening, thinking, I kind of think I want to write a book. It's like, everybody wants the baby, but there's the pregnancy, the carrying, the stuff that's inside of you that nobody else can see and nobody can mine out for you. Now you could go through a ghostwriting process. I didn't want to, right? Like I wanted to go through the process of figuring out like, how do I say something that matters? And so I had that sense I would like to write a book. I have other things that I would like to write about, but I did some of that soul searching, really praying of like, what needs to be said? And this was the message of all the things that I could have chosen. This was the message. So once I knew what the message was, then I just had to commit to the process. So I did a kind of hybrid publishing model where I had a publisher guide me through the process, but we co-own, right? Like they get royalties, I get royalties off of selling. But I wrote the book partly because I think it matters. Like I don't just care about being passionate. I care if other people are passionate. Like I kind of see it as like an injustice on the planet. If you don't get to know that your life matters, like there are so many people right now that don't believe that their life matters. They don't know that they have unique gifts to contribute to humanity. And I'm like, that just should not be. That should not be. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like the impetus for why do I go all the way to writing a book? Partly it's like, can I? But also like the message matters for right now, even though it's been said before. There isn't anything new
Yeah.
under the sun, right? But can I say it to the people who are listening to me? Can I offer something? Books have changed my life, right? Like I love reading. I've been mentored by plenty of dead authors, can I say something that will change someone's life and wake them up, help them live with passion?
That now I totally understand why you and I hit it off so well, and we are completely aligned. I was actually literally having that conversation just literally a few minutes ago. So my backdrop right now, I'm in an office in Kelowna, BC. I'm actually at one of my businesses. Normally, the podcast is done downstairs in my studio, and they have the Viking shield and the axe and all the fun stuff. But I'm in more business mode right now. I was just having the conversation with one of my leaders here in the office and saying, because I want to live my life with passion and purpose, I tend to project that upon other people. And I want it for you because for me, it's like, it's not just for me, I want it for others. And so it's all in my understanding through my life is like when I'm serving others is when I get served. Like it's by giving that one receives, right? The Saint Francis of Assisi's prayer, or love that prayer. Like it's bang on. And so, but that's that purpose part. Like every single person, every single thing on the planet has a purpose. We're the only species on the planet that doesn't know why we're here, right?
Or that
Yeah.
get to go on the journey of discovering why. That
No, and
that
and that is the adventure.
yes.
That is the adventure, is the fact that we don't know why we're here, but you go and explore it. So that's why I wrapped it. That's what the Viking Academy is about. It's like embrace your inner Viking, go explore yourself and experience the joy of self-discovery. Right?
So in the book I talk about participatory joy, that we get the joy of participating in the journey. And so I think about it like, do you have kids? Eric, you have kids,
Yeah, yeah, I got three. Yeah.
right? So I have three kids and Christmas, I've always loved Christmas, very magical. But when you have kids and you have Christmas, like there is an epic ability to be like, I'm going to get them something. I know I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go, I get to be a part of this thing that they get to discover. And I already know they're going to like it, but the anticipation of the buildup and the opportunity to discover and to guess, like I get joy and they get joy. And I think that's an experience of participatory joy. Like the joy is in the giving, but also on the kids side, like the joy is in the surprise of it all. And so I
Yeah.
think, if we think about God, like why did God set it up so that we have to go on a journey? We don't just wake up and go, well, I'm a dog. My job is to, be excited when my people are excited, regardless of how they treat me. My job is to bring joy, right? Like that's the job of dogs, or protect, or whatever kind of dog you are. I have an Aussie Doodle. So her job is to just wake up and be excited. The end. Like she doesn't have anything beyond that. But we go on a journey. We're the only species that goes on a journey. Well, why? Is that divine negligence? Is that God withholding something from us? Or is that God giving us the opportunity to be surprised and excited by the gift he put inside of us that leads us towards this experience of purpose? And I think the latter. You do too.
We're completely in alignment on that. I love how you've phrased that participatory joy. It is because you participate in the joy. They get the joy and the surprise and getting the gift, but you by giving you, so we all it all winds up together. Yeah, it all winds up together. And this is a wonderful thing. Like my experience now has shown me that when I'm consciously seeking a higher power, seeking the will of the creator, seeking my reason for being here, what am I here to do? What do you want me to do today? And it's like the joy of that discovery when all of a sudden and that's why I love Strategic Coach. Like I love Strategic Coach. I think it's the world's greatest philosophy program wrapped in a business blanket. Okay, that's the way I see it, because Dan is a philosopher, and the idea, like everything, all the concepts he teaches are universal truths, shall we say, and philosophical thinking in which feathers into spirituality, right? Is that unique ability. What is your unique ability? Figure out what that is. And when you figure out what your unique ability is, now you know what your unique value contribution is, and that's what you're here to do. And that was the gift that was given to you, and I don't know if you've listened to any of the previous podcasts. The one with Chad Jenkins it's off the hook. It's fantastic. He's also in Strategic Coach. I don't think you've met him before. He's in the free zone. And he talks about the fact that what we're here to do was with us when we were little kids. And it's finding, reconnecting with that child, being childlike, not childish, but childlike, and reconnecting to that joy that you had when you were like 6 or 5 or 6 or 7, right? That before it got conditioned with layers of conditioning, and this is the person I need to be, but that's the person you were meant to be.
Before people told you what you were allowed to be, right? Like you're
Yeah.
going back to that, like dreams, right? What were the dreams? Why did you want to be a firefighter? Why did you want to be a superhero or a princess? Like, obviously, those aren't real jobs, but like there's something about them thematically, the essence of them that is in you, right? It's the dream. And so it's figuring out what are those dreams, early desires manifested? What are they trying to say about the future you? And, it doesn't mean I want to go to the Olympics, but I am not physically capable of, being a gymnast. Okay, but there was something about that. Maybe it was winning. Maybe it was achievement. There was something about that that was thematically true for you that was an early desire manifested in your dreams.
I just had a huge aha moment. When I was a
Do it.
kid, when I was a kid, I loved Superman because he could fly, right? And actually, my wife got me a big poster of Superman, and I have it downstairs, and he's flying. And it's like, because that's what I've always wanted to do, was fly in my way. I wanted to fly, right? Which was it's metaphorical. Thank you for that. Wow. I just kind of figured that one out.
I love
You're
it.
good. You're good. Okay. Talk to me about the book and the structure of book. Let's go into the book more, because
Yep.
I'm really intrigued.
Yeah. Okay. So I always say don't sleep on the preface because I wrote the preface last. So I wrote the book and then I was like, oh, you know what? I need to say one more thing, but it needs to be the first thing, not the last thing. So the preface is basically your job, your purpose isn't your identity and it's not your job. Like your identity is secure. You matter and you are worthy and your life is meaningful and who you are is it's secure and solid regardless of what you do for other people in service to humanity. So I think that matters because I think sometimes we're trying to siphon off energy
Mm,
from purpose. Like I
mhm.
am the vice president, right? Like I am, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're a person and that matters, regardless of ability or contribution, you matter. So human dignity. And then it's not your job. Like your purpose is above your job. It's how you do what you do. It's not what you do. And so
Yeah.
I think that's important to state. Now, you can get a lot of meaning and purpose from your job because of that interconnected nature of how purpose works. Purpose is what happens on the other side of you. It's the benefit people get when you live out your purpose. So that's that like the weaving together. Your life is meant to be woven together into the fabric of humanity, and you need to live out your purpose because you are benefiting other people. But you can do that in the Starbucks drive-through. You can do that to the Target checkout guy. You can do that as a dad. You can live out your purpose in every circle of influence, not just at your job.
Yes, love that, because it's not, because a lot of this, oh, what's your purpose? Go and make your mark on the world, be this great, you know, be the next Messiah, but whatever, like impact the whole universe and be this. It's that's the ego driven proposition, right? That you're out here, that you're here for a special reason, and you're out to, you change the world. Well, no, all of us are not here to change the world, but I liken it
But we
to.
are here to change our world.
Oh, yes, that's my point. So there's a beautiful quote by Rumi, and it says, I used to be clever and I wanted to change the world. And now I am wise and I am changing myself. Right. And by self-forgetting one finds, coming back to the St. Francis of Assisi's prayer, is realizing that you have a picture, a puzzle like a full, you got a full puzzle, right? It's the full puzzle piece. The picture doesn't come until every single piece is in its spot. And so you're a puzzle piece and you're just figuring out where your puzzle piece fits, right? And because it's by virtue of the actual fact that you are here on the planet, if you're listening to this podcast, you have a purpose and you're actually fulfilling it by just being here,
Mhm.
right? Right. The joy comes in when you recognize the fact that you're here for a purpose, and then it elevates. For me, it kind of gets a shot of, there's like this energy, this surge, this, shall we call it, the spirit comes into you, and all of a sudden now you're like, oh, I am here for a purpose. Wow. And then you're like, and I think there's more there. I feel like there's more. What else am I for? And that's when we're inspired, we're in spirit, right? So there's the spirit of God coming through us, right? And it's inspiring you to go do something. So, but I love the fact that you start it with, hey, don't think you have to, if you're not changing the world, you're not living your purpose. You're actually being your purpose by just being here. Like just
We
by
have
reading
to
the book.
surrender.
Yeah,
Right? Like we have to surrender the vision for impact to God, right? Like you have to go like,
there,
listen, the size, the magnitude, that is not my responsibility.
right. Surrendering it, because this is where, for me, I'm in a constant battle with my ego. Okay. Like that's the alcoholic recovery part. Like
Yeah,
an overinflated ego is what causes the alcoholism. So I'm always in check with the ego. And that's why surrendering to a higher power is the path to recovery. So I'm in a constant state of, is this my ego or is this my purpose? Right? Constant check on that. But my experience is that A-type personality, you seem like an A-typer as well. I'm like this, run against, run against, run against, run against. And then finally I'm like, okay, just let go. And as soon as I let go, then it all works.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. And isn't that the grace of God to like hem us in, right? To go, hey, calm down.
Yeah.
I have a plan.
Yeah.
You are a part of the plan. You don't have to make the plan happen.
Right.
Right. So I think that that's understanding your purpose. So I'll tell you the elements of the purpose formula.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Let's go back
But
in.
understanding your purpose, I think it allows you to know what's yours and what's not yours, especially if you're A type, where you're like, I need to solve everything, right? Like I kind of wake up like that. Everything's my responsibility and I need to solve it. And so, no, I need to solve what's mine. I need to solve for the things that are prepared ahead of me for me to do. So if I know my purpose, I can go, ah, I have to sing that note. I have to play that puzzle piece because that's my role to play here. And I can let other people play their role. I don't have to play every role. I don't have to sing every note. It's just this one note because that's the one that I'm uniquely gifted and designed to do.
Yes. And then I just had an aha moment here, which is why I love these interviews and I love these podcasts because I get so much out of them by having these great conversations. Is that just having a, shall we call it, a faith or a belief in purpose
Mhm.
instantaneously puts you into belief in a higher power, that there's an order to the universe and that there's a God. So, shall
Mm.
we say? Do you know what I mean? The minute you
Yeah.
go, there's a purpose for my being, that instantaneously connects you to an understanding and a belief in God.
Mhm. Yeah, I think I certainly couldn't figure out a different way to write the book. Like I talk a lot about psychology and sociology. I mean, I'm very nerdy. I'm very academic. That's my background, but I couldn't figure out another way to write the book that was just pure form science because it was like I don't know, like you're designed with a purpose. And if you're designed, there's a designer
Yeah,
right? So that I couldn't figure out another way. I mean, it's very like my way of operating, my modus operandi is that there is a God and he wants to know you and he has a beautiful reason for sending you to this place and time in history. And so what if you figured that out and you played that part not because you have to but because you get to? What if life is a gift and not a slog? That doesn't make the slog go away. It means that we have a different lens on the slog.
yeah. When you change the way that you look at the world that you look at changes. Famous Wayne Dyer quote, right? When you realize that this the obstacle is the way, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Holiday is, yeah, it's Ryan Holiday, one of his books. That is part of the journey, and then all of a sudden, I've gone through this multiple times, and I continue to. Is like when I'm suffering, it's like, no, this isn't happening for you. This is happening, not happening to you. It's happening for you because there's something that you need to hear. This was one thing that I was going to ask you. I've been noticing a lot lately. There's a lot of people in the harder, heavier businesses, like so we call accountant, lawyer, blah, 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 blah. But they're all starting to break through and wanting to do more light work, right?
Mhm.
Like, say, for myself, chartered accountant, now becoming the Viking Academy, talking about spirituality and purpose and life. And I've talked to a bunch of other friends doing the same thing. Um, but what I've noticed just recently, and I'm just curious if you've seen this, that there's been a lot of people starting to see that opening up into that, but there's a lot of people are getting physically sick around. Like there's a lot of physical sickness happening right now, and I always kind of go, I wonder what does that mean? Do you know what I mean? Like it's like what is going on?
Yeah, I have not thought a lot about the physical. I think a lot about the metaphysical, and I'm seeing a lot of the similar breakthroughs. So I'll tell you my own personal, when I was kind of like, discerning through, is this the right topic? I'm like, how does this fit? Like, I don't talk like this in my business. I'm like, it's been pretty separate. Not that people don't know who I am, because that's very obvious. But that's not been the way that I've operated in my business. And I was really wrestling. So the book took 2 years to write. So 2 years ago, it's a different world. And then the book releases this year. And this year is massive openness to spiritual conversations like I've never seen in my entire life. Now, I've always been paying attention. I've been paying attention to the spirit world and the metaphysical, not to get very woo woo, but like I've been paying attention to that my entire life. Like, what's going on here? What I'll leave it at that, to again, not let people too inside the woo woo that's in my head, but like I've been watching, and this year is different. It is different. There's movement. And
Oh,
so the time even
go
of
into
having
the
this
woo
book,
woo. No, go into the woo woo. Like I'm like literally, I've been like for myself, I've been visited by interdimensional beings over the last year and a
yep.
bit. Like I've had very correct, direct conversations and connections with all sorts of spirit, and I've been seeing all sorts of things manifesting and starting to change. Like there was a big shift happening.
So if we just, think kingdom of light, kingdom of dark, right? If we just kind of put it in two
Yeah.
categories, both of those are operating in the unseen realm.
Hmm.
There's holy and light and positive and there's good, and then there's dark and evil, and both types of spirits are evoked
Hmm.
currently.
Yes. Yes.
And so purpose and a conversation on purpose is fundamentally going, come this way, come towards the kingdom of light, come towards this, like, you were made for more, you were made for something good, and you don't have to. Even addiction, so you mentioned addiction is there, you're not, there's nothing wrong with you. There is a kingdom of darkness pulling you to distraction and addiction. All of us, our phones, social media. There's nothing particularly wrong with social media, but there is a pull. There's an undercurrent towards, you know what, go to sleep. You know what, just satiate yourself to cope and to exist. And that's the, like, acceptable message of kind of the darker forces in the spiritual realm. But the message of the light spiritual forces is be alive,
Yes.
be alive, be fully alive. And those two messages are in conflict with one another, and both of them are in blast right now. And people are responding
Yes. Yes. It's like they're amplified.
right now. The veil
Yeah.
is torn back, right? We have lived with a certain veil. Like, we're too smart for the metaphysical. That's not real. It's like the scientific revolution and the industrial revolution, all of that. Like we got too smart for the metaphysical realm. Whereas like early modernity, we still believed in the spirit realm. And I think like the shelf life of that stuff isn't real is kind of expiring in the experiences of people. And people are like, you know what? Like, more stuff, that's not doing it for me. More dopamine, that's not doing it for me. Like, for the people who are waking
Yeah.
up, there's
Yeah.
got to be something more. And like that veil that has traditionally been accepted as true, it's getting torn back. And people are like, oh no, there's stuff back there. There's stuff behind the veil.
Yes. Yeah. I've experienced it. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm seeing it. But I love how you framed it like that. That was, yeah, I totally get that. That was a beautiful way of expressing what's going on. Um, so because I've been seeing it all over in different places. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that framing. Okay, so let's get back into the book. Okay, let's get back into the book. Okay, but this is the fun part about the podcast, man. We have no idea where it's going. It's going to go all over the place. Let's get back into the book. I want to understand the structure of the book and the messaging inside it. So let's go
Yeah, because
back
I
to
kind
the
of stopped at
purpose.
the preface.
Yeah,
Sorry. So
no, it's all good.
preface,
No, this is
read
great.
it, don't sleep. And
Yeah.
then, so it really starts just like normal. What is purpose? How does purpose work? Why does it matter? Why does it matter right now? So I kind of unpack the moment, right? The moment that we're living in, people are very sad. They're very sick. They're very, and the question of does my life matter really is an age-old question. Like, people have been asking this question, philosophers have been asking this question for thousands of years. Does my life, like, this is the question of life. What is the meaning of life? Does my life matter? So I really, though, position that question in this moment in time. What's happening because we think the answer is no? Because we think the answer is my life doesn't matter. We're getting sadder. We're getting sicker. We're very anxious. And so, given that, what happens when purpose is present? And so I unpack the benefits to, mental, emotional, physical health. Purpose matters in a very objectively measurable way. So then, if it matters for us to live with purpose, how? So that's really the purpose formula is kind of the center of the book. Like I talk about it as design, desires, and disappointments. Your purpose is found when you understand your design. Who are you? What's your personality? What are your gifts? What are your physical abilities? And I really talk about that as you really are. If you learn to understand your design, you can see that it is all features, no flaws. You were made how you were intended to be made. And we're all different on purpose. That matters, like you have different things about you, your unique ability, back to strategic coach, right? That there are design features about you that if you will understand them, you can appreciate them. So I'm, as you picked up, very type A, very opinionated. I, can kind of like, I think fast, I decide fast. That's a great feature if you're a guy born in a different culture. If you're a female born in my culture, I'm kind of a lot. Like, I mean, just, I'm kind of a lot. And so I've always grown up with this sense of like, what's wrong with me? But as I explored this question of design, I began to, rather than like, hey, God, why'd you make me like that? I began to take the tone into curiosity rather than a accusation. And like, I
Exploration.
wonder
It's
why.
curious and exploring. Yes.
I wonder
Yes.
why. I wonder what that's there for. I wonder why I am so quick to find the challenges or the problems in situations. And what if that wasn't annoying, but what if that was there on purpose and it's supposed to be a good thing? Now, we all have to learn to modulate, right? Like
And
unchecked, any of our personalities can be like, whoa, what are you doing? Or, go faster, be less passive. So all of our design, we have to learn to modulate it, but we have to learn to appreciate it and understand it and know what is that there for. So design is that first piece of the formula. And it's very reflective. The book has questions at the end of every chapter that's like, if you want to understand this about yourself, like answer these questions. So I didn't realize that the questions were going to like stop people in their tracks. People read books differently, I have learned. Some people think that there's a right way to read a book. Like I have to read this and I have to answer all the questions or I'm doing it wrong. And I learned that talking to my sister. I was like, hey, did you finish the book? And she was like, no, you asked so many questions. I can't get through them. And I was like, oh, well, don't answer them. Like, just read the book and come back and answer them later if that's stopping you up. And it didn't occur to me that people would get like stopped up with the questions. But I think it's a 2 times reader. I think you got to read it through and then come back and reflect it through, because you don't necessarily always know. And then there's that message that I had of like, there are design flaws. Something's wrong with me. And so learning to like shift your mind into that curiosity rather than accusation, I think is a journey of walking through the book if you have negative self-talk.
that's for me, having a look back on, in hindsight's 2020, of course, right?
Yes.
But looking back on all the stuff that I did when I was drinking and my alcoholism and all the rest of that, and I was thinking that was wrong with me. I was wrong. I was bad. I was a not lovable and all the other things that go along with it. But today I'm like, oh, no, no, that was all on purpose. Like I had to go through that because I needed to experience that. So I experienced all these horrible things. So now what I do is I now help the next person because I can relate to the next suffering alcoholic. I can relate to the next suffering person. So this whole thing of it's a flaw, it's not a flaw. It's actually a design feature for you to actually experience because it's for a purpose for something down the line. But that doesn't mean that you become complacent and say, oh, well, God wants me to be a drug
Oh,
alcoholic. Do you know what I mean?
so
Like,
you need to be
like,
whole. You need to be
yeah,
healthy, right? So it is
yeah,
like back to the light versus the dark, right? Like
yeah.
it is fundamentally leading towards that, like, what is good here? Because it is not pleasant to be married to, friends with, working for someone who only critiques you. Like that, if I'm left unchecked, my personality can be like the critique monster and you can never meet my expectations. That's horrible. That's
Yeah.
so that's a beat down.
Yeah.
If I'm your mom, if I'm your boss, and all I do is tell you what I see that needs to be fixed.
And yet we do that to ourselves. I've often said that to some people. I said, you know what? If anybody else treated you the way you treat you, I'd beat them up
Yeah.
because you're being so mean to yourself, right?
Yeah.
We're yeah, that
Yeah.
self-reflection. Um, cool. So there's design.
Design. So the next piece is
Okay.
desires. So design
Okay.
desires. Desires is just what do you really want? And I think, strategic coach really asks that question too, right? Like, what is that big dream in your heart? And what you want might seem trivial, but as you begin pulling that thread of what you want, what did you dream about being when you were a kid before other people told you, before other people put their expectations on you, what did you dream about? And so desires is really like there are people who are like super nerdy about math, and I'm like, I bet that's for a reason. There are people that are like hyper excited about spreadsheets, and I'm like, I bet that's for a reason, right? So like those desires, what gets you jazzed up out of your mind, like that stuff about you, it's trying to send you a message about how you are to show up and what you are to pursue. Our brains, I think the dopamine cycle is evidence, biological evidence that God cares if we want stuff, right? Like that the goal isn't to kill all your desires and become hyper stoic, but it's actually to understand your desires in so much as they help lead you toward that ability to serve the planet.
I love that because yeah, because the satiation of desire is not the full purpose of life, but it does give you a divining rod in terms of what you do desire. And there's that balance there. And I love how you've kind of said it. Is it pulling you to the dark or is it pulling you to the light? Like for me, when I would say that the alcoholism and the drug addiction, all that stuff was like, oh, it made me feel good. So that's my desire. Well, like, yeah, but where is it taking you? Where's the road end? The road ends over here in the negative side, right? And I like um that you framed it as like it's not about quelling and just becoming like emotionless. Do you know what I mean? Like some people think like, oh, to be Buddha on the mountaintop is just to have no desires, completely unattached to anything and having no feelings whatsoever. And that's how you reach bliss.
Right.
Well, okay. But what about the rest of us?
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
What about the rest of us? And I love the fact that you like, and that's the thing that again, unique ability says when you're working in your unique ability, it feeds you more energy than you put into it.
Yes. And those
And
are
there's that
right. Those are soul sparks. Those are
yeah,
it's that
yeah,
energetic feedback loop that's
yeah,
telling you dopamine is a pursuit chemical. You get the dopamine. It's like, it's not, I eat the burrito, I get the dopamine. It's, I get the dopamine, so I'll go get the burrito. Like it's a pursuit chemical. It actually tells
yeah.
you to go towards a thing. Now, when we wire ourselves, right, we addict ourselves to something that leads us the wrong direction, we then have to go through a rewiring process to reteach our pathways to pursue health. So there can be an important rewiring process, but in our default settings, there was no malformation.
Right.
So defaultly, there were things that you were wired up to want. And so if our pathways are healthy, if we can get our pathways healthy, that dopamine cycle is actually there to tell us what to pursue, that energetic like soul spark of like, I need more of that. I need to do more helping people. I love serving. I want to do more things that allow me to just serve in the background. I love leading. I want to do more things like that experience of like, oh my gosh, I'm good at that and I like it and I want to do more of it. Like
Yeah.
that's a divine channeling of that soul sparking. Your desires are there. Your default settings of desires are there to say, this is good. Go get more of that.
This is interesting because like my so I've got a 25, 23, and a 13-year-old. So with the 13-year-old, this one is like I'm like, I love find out what you really love to do and go do that. When I was brought up in school, it was like, no, you had to be great at everything and you had to get top grades on everything. And I worked like my butt off to get all these top grades. And then, working on my, shall we call it my my weaknesses, then you have mediocre weaknesses instead of focusing on your strengths, which is this again, which is why I love the unique ability approach. It's like, here's why you were made. If it's sparking that interest, if you're inspired in spirit, that it's telling you what to do. That's the other story that I love hearing. Um, and Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot. He talks about the burning bush. He said when all of a sudden Moses walks up and he sees the burning bush and he goes, whoa, it caught his attention. It made him, hey, what is that? And he goes, and then he went and pursued it. And when he pursued it, he found out it was the voice of God. And that was the whole story. It's showing us that following that which inspires you, that desire that you have, that's part of it's almost like someone also said this, like life is like an escape room and you're trying to find the way out. It's like a little clue. I don't know if I particularly like that analogy, but it's like finding these little, it's like a treasure hunt. Like all of a sudden you're like, ooh, this is kind of cool. And like, oh, there's something over there that caught my eye. Let's go figure that out. Right.
Yep. Yep.
I
That's
love
it.
that. Okay, so we got design, we got desires,
Disappointments. Disappointments is the last
disappointments.
one. Okay, so this is the stuff that we thought would break us and take us off course. And it can be the stuff we've done. I like to say that we learn some stuff through the school of stupid. It's the stupid choices I've made. And then sometimes it's the stuff that's done to us. Like, my parents got a divorce when I was little and it wrecked me, or, people who've experienced abuse. There are things that feel like they're going to break us. Sometimes it's just injustice in the world that we're like, oh my gosh, it cannot be that there is human trafficking, right? Like that kind of like disappointment, like this is not how life should be. This is not how my life should be. When that stuff is healed, right? We've come back this way. It digs a level of compassion, like wells of compassion that might not have been there otherwise. This is the stuff where it's like, man, I walked a path here. This is the addiction, right? I walked a path here. And while I don't know if I would want to walk that path again personally, I definitely want to help people who are, or help people avoid the heartache that I experienced in that disappointment. And so I think that that's the one that sometimes we don't think it is a part of our purpose, but sometimes that is the greatest propeller of purpose. It's the greatest informer of purpose, because it's the stuff that we're like, I lived this, I experienced this, it should not be. And by golly, at least in my world, I am going to figure out how to make a difference in that.
Home. Deep conversation with another entrepreneur about this issue around this thing, because we do dive deeper into and because you're in like what you're the third workshop, right? So you're
We just finished year one, so I'm about to start.
yes, right. You're starting year two. Okay. So as we got into like further down the line, we get into a lot of these kind of reflective thinking tools about what happened in the past and the negative things that happened. And what we find and what I found in one of these workshops was all the negative things that happened in my life were like the gold mines. They were all gold mines. And I got into this conversation with John Workington. Him and I got in this kind of deep philosophical conversation about it. And I said, John, I can't believe it. I said, every single negative thing that happened to me in my life is actually the gold. It's the gold. Like it's the stuff that is actually the best. Pain was a touchstone of all growth. He goes, yeah, okay, Eric. He goes, is that true universally, or is that only true to you because that's the way you have now reframed it and relooked at it? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes. And so one of the things I talk about in the book, and it's kind of because it's a big conversation, at least in the social media algorithm in my face, trauma. We talk a lot about trauma, and the difference between trauma that stays trauma and trauma that turns into resilience is learning.
mhm.
So can I take this thing that almost broke me, and can I can it complete the cycle? So learning is the completion of a trauma cycle. Now, does that mean that we should pursue trauma? Absolutely not. That's insane. However,
I'll pass on that one.
I'll
Thank you.
pass. I won't be enrolling in that course. Thank you so much. But life is full of things that press us. And so, can I take the pressing and go all the way through the lesson so that I can become stronger? So, I talk about kintsugi, the Japanese art form of kintsugi, when I talk about disappointments. So, kintsugi is this art form in Japan, created in Japan, where you actually mix lacquer with fine metal, so platinum, gold, silver, and it's an act of repairing pottery where the cracks and the broken pieces are actually infused with this golden lacquer, this silver lacquer. Beautiful. The broken places become a display of splendor. They become the beautiful places. So when I think about disappointments healed, I think about kintsugi. Kin is golden repair. Kintsugi, golden repair. And so when our broken things are healed, it's not only something that we shouldn't hide, it becomes the thing that makes us more beautiful than we were before. And you can't restore pottery by gluing it back together. You can look at it that way, but you can't use it. But
Right.
when you go through a kintsugi process, not only is it beautiful, better, it's better than it was before, it's stronger than it was before, and it's usable again. So it doesn't become a museum piece. It becomes the display piece. Like, I want to use this. My friends are coming over. I'm going to use this bowl because it actually is a conversation point that rallies us all together. And that's when I think about disappointments in terms of purpose and resilience and strength. It's not that people who've gone through hard things would choose it again. It's that they have completed the cycle of learning such that that disappointment, that scarring has become beauty in their lives, a display of splendor where that golden joinery is actually the feature, not the flaw.
Yeah. And so, and within that framework, shall we say, is the difference between the person who, and this is what John, I think, was getting to me. He goes, well, yeah, Eric, you did the art of kintsugi. You actually, you made it stronger, better, more beautiful, all those wonderful things you said. Someone else gets that and they stick in it and they stay in it and they never heal it. But my question, my comment to him that was a little more meta was, but all the negative that happened was for us. Like, it was part of the overall design. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was,
Have to complete the cycle. So
yeah,
the
but it,
rough edges will still cut people if I don't heal them.
yeah, yes, yeah, it does. I'm not saying that it isn't going to suck and you don't have to, but there's two people go through the same experience. One does the healing part at the end and then realizes the gold that they find at the end of the suffering. And the other one doesn't. They stay in the suffering. But the whole suffering was put into place for a purpose. Like, and this is where, like, God is everything or God is nothing. It's like, okay, well, all of the negative things that have happened in my life were happening for me to learn from. And as soon as I reframe that, and that's when I did that thinking too, I was like, oh my gosh. So the next negative thing that comes towards me, and I start feeling that, instead of feeling a victim mentality, I'm going to lean into it and say, thank you, creator. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're showing me and what I'm needing to learn out of this. Like, what do I need to extract out of this experience now? Right.
Yeah.
And it's actually changing the way I'm experiencing negative behavior going forward.
So
Or negative disappointments going forward. Sorry.
yeah.
That's what I meant.
No,
Like,
so I think where people may get stuck and where we could maybe like round the corner there a little bit is people get stuck when they feel like negatives are predetermined. Like, oh, someone outside of me, God or someone else, is forcing this negative thing on me. And that's your point about like changing the narrative or changing the way that you see
yeah.
it. I think you can go, negatives are going to come. They are inevitable. And
Yes.
I get to choose how I respond to them.
Yeah.
So it's not that like God or somebody else is trying to, harm me, or that I have to view that harm as good. It's like, that is called life. That is called living in a broken world where these two forces behind the veil are at war, and we are in war, right? And so then how do I deal with the consequences of war and be strong on the other side of it? So I think that there's an element of it where it's like, if I can accept the inevitability of disappointment in life, but the I don't have to accept the option of weakness and brokenness. I can embrace the option of healing. Like, there's my free will.
Yeah. The phrase that sums everything up into that is pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Okay, so we've got design, desires, disappointments.
Yeah. So the whole book is reflecting through those things. And then
Okay.
after that, I said, hey, if you just really don't know, here's Jesus's purpose. Here's why he came to the planet. You could borrow that one, if you want to like just kind
Yeah.
of like choose the kingdom of light. He's like gonna help poor people and bring good news to people and encourage the hearts of people and bind up brokenness, right? Like this is why Jesus came to the planet. You can emulate that in the meantime while you're not sure what your particular purpose is. I also tackle the like, yeah, well, aren't we kind of all sort of here for the same reason? Like, isn't generic purpose like good enough? And I'm like, no, no, you have a particular purpose. And so I do urge in the text to like find your particular purpose. But in the meantime, if you need to borrow a really good, like, kingdom of light person's purpose, like, here's one to
Yeah.
borrow. And then I tell stories of purpose. So then I give 3 examples of people living on purpose. A friend of mine who has really overcome um, addiction is doing really good, like dignity-based work in policing. A friend of mine who's doing really like uplifting work in our city, like empowering women. And then I told a third story that is escaping my mind for some reason. That's very sad. And then at the end, I give people kind of like a how to write a purpose statement section. So like challenge, the final edge of the book is a challenge to live on purpose. And here are 15 ways that a purpose statement could sound. And so try them on, try it out. And I'm collecting 1 million purpose statements, right? I want 1 million people living on purpose. I announced that just as soon as I got back from Strategic Coach. So we're like little by little creating these like just cultivating people living on purpose, collecting these purpose statements. So how we get to 1 million is not clear to me yet, but we're on a pathway. And so that like section at the end of writing your purpose statement, then now my request is like, send it in, email it to purpose@solomonsa.com. Or, you can DM us on any of our social platforms and we'll stick it into our counter that we're building to count up to 1 million people living on purpose.
That's beautiful. That is so cool. One part of that I just wanted to dive back into. So and I love the fact that you very analytical, psychological, sociological, you've got all those pieces. Like I've got a psychology degree as well. So I'm very like, I like to do the math and then like you said, nerd out on it. And you said you were trying to find a way to write the book without going and fully expressing your faith. So then when you went into that part of the book and you have explained all that to there, and then you went, I'm jumping into the deep end of the pool and I'm going to talk about Jesus. And you just did it.
Yeah.
And was that the scary jump for you to just go into that? Or it's like what part of it was the leap for you?
I think there's two. I think deciding like, okay, there's not another way to talk about this. Cause I mean, I really did, is like, you're made with a purpose, Genesis, I start with like Genesis and it's very theological. And that's very true to like, it's almost like you really know how I think if you read this book. You know the inside of Jessica Rimmer if you read this book. People who know me are like, I could hear your voice, right? I could hear your voice as I read it. And I'm like, okay. So it was one deciding that it was going to be overtly faith. The other one was like telling my own story. So I had a few friends walking through the process with me, reading the book. And my friend David was like, you have to put more of yourself here, here, and here. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I had listened, there's an author I follow, and she said, until it hurts you, you haven't gone far enough. And I got to that bleeding edge where I was like, this is a little embarrassing. Like,
Mm.
here's what you need to know about my own story and about my journey, my own journey with mental health, my own journey with like being suicidal. And I tell it not hyper raw, because I'm not, unless we're having coffee, like I'm not going to be hyper raw with you. Like that's not an authentic expression of my real life self. I will tell you anything you ask me. I'm extraordinarily open and honest and transparent, but I'm also like just a pretty professional person by nature of how I'm wired. So I don't like tell you gory details, but I tell you enough where you're like, "Ah, man, that sounds hard." And that, even though now on this side of it, it's like, yeah, duh, that's the right way to go. But like putting it out there for people who, for the most part, view me as like all together, she's got it all together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that was the part that I was like, okay, I said what I said. I'm just, I'm not going to look at it anymore.
And have you, but now you looking back, you realize you're like, no, this is what I needed to say because it
Oh
helps
my
so many
gosh.
people. And how feeling has it been for you to actually be able to be yourself, like to actually creatively express who Jessica is? Like that's, to me, that's ultimate freedom, is to be yourself.
And authenticity. Like I really do
Yeah.
value integrity and authenticity very highly. And one of my early readers who had known me a long time but hadn't known me like that, she'd been a client. She said, by the time you got to the end of the book and you tell your purpose, she goes, of course that's your purpose. I've seen you live it. And I was like, oh, that, like, there's not a better compliment than that. I read your book. I found my purpose. Like, that's what I'm looking for. Like, that's why I told my story is like, I had a woman, she's at the gym. She's an older woman, like 68 or something like that. And she came up to me on Monday and I took my headphones out and she was like, I'm still reading your book. And I just want you to know, like, thank you for writing it. I needed to read this. Like it's that where I'm like, okay, like that kind of like you're going to approach me sweaty with my head, my hair in a ponytail, like lifting weights. Like you knew that because I said it like that, I wasn't writing something from here.
Right.
I was writing it from here to there.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. And that's the contribution, that's the purpose that you were brought here for, was to actually do the book. Another, again, another strategic coach guy on. It was Dr. Stel Mikolakakis, Dr. Nick we call him. And his book is Soul Sight, and it's beautiful. And it was the same thing. He was finally showing himself to the world, and that's what you're doing, is you've actually shown yourself. And I think it's probably one of the most scary things for any of us to do, is to actually show people who we really are,
Mhm.
right? Because we have a mask on that says, well, this is who I'm pretending to be, or this is the part I'm playing right
This
now.
is the version I think is acceptable to you. That's the game that we're playing in any given moment.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the version I think is acceptable to you. And so
Right,
then to go, okay, that was the truth. Like that's the whole truth. There's nothing that I didn't say about how that worked for me.
right. That's awesome. So, and when did the book come out?
May of this year.
Oh my gosh. And we're going to get a million purpose statements out of it.
That's right. I hope. I mean, that's the
No,
journey.
that's the vision.
That's the vision. That is
That's
the
the vision.
yeah.
Yeah. It's, and here's a wonderful thing too that I've experienced over the last little while, is I've been surrounding myself with healers. Okay, healers. And so I've started the Viking Academy Healers Wheel Mastermind, and I've been meeting once a month with healers. And so they're all in the different, like, um, one talks to angels, the other one is past life regression, energy healers, right? And they've all come together saying, magic is going to be the new how. magic is the new how. And I've been thinking about that going, because you said something about, I want to get it, the vision. So I'm going to show one more thing and then we're going to tie back into yours. She said, why is joy and abundance? How is fear and scarcity? How am I going to do this? As opposed to, but when you're in the why, so you said, I want a million purpose statements. I have no idea how it's going to happen, because you didn't fall down into the how, which is, and this is another part with Dan Sullivan. It's who, not how. He always talks about the who, not how, but it's the why, not the how. So the why, your why, your purpose on bringing this message out is so crystal clear, and who you are is screaming so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. That's one of the phrases I have on the Viking Academy. Because who you are, like that woman said, like this, of course you are. This is who you are. It's your why is so beautiful and loud and prominent. I'm not even concerned about the how. Like the how is going to take care of itself magically. It's going to align itself.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. But if you stay in the why and the purpose of it, which is the book, the purpose formula, like that's so cool. That's so cool. It's happening. Oh, there'll be 1 million for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I want that. And when it happens, it's for the good. It's for the good.
Yes.
You know, I mean, again, like, sure, can you decide that you want to be an evil mastermind and you want to tear down civilization? Sure, you can. I believe that people moving towards the good, right? That's so much more powerful than people evil.
Yeah.
You know, it's so much more powerful.
The energy vibration that comes from love is exponential versus evil and darkness.
Yeah. That's it.
And where can people find your book? Where can they get a copy of your book? Where can I get a copy of your book?
Amazon. You can get a copy on Amazon. I know
Perfect.
people the evil corporation, but you can just search the purpose formula or Jessica Rimmer on Amazon and my name will pop up. And there's the book, hardcover or paperback. And I'm almost to where I can record an audio. So when I do, it'll be on Audible, but we're not there yet. I have to sell a certain benchmark in order to get there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So we're on that journey too.
And you know, this is you said something earlier about when someone read the book, they could hear your voice, right? This is why I'm so glad that we did the podcast first. So now when I go get the book and I read it, I'm going to hear I already tell that I'll be able to hear your voice talking to me as I'm reading the book. Because that happened with Dr. Nick, his book, Soul Sight. When I was reading the book, I could hear his voice. Like I could hear him talking through every line and then that's why I told him, I said, this is you. This is beautiful. Right. And so I'm really looking forward to getting it. So I'm ordering the book. And the other thing I was going to say is that inside the Viking, currently right now, the Viking Academy is not monetized. It's got a membership and I do podcasts and I do some private Viking shots to whoever is in the Viking membership. Inside the membership, I have what I call is the Viking Armory, which is a whole bunch of tools and resources. I'm going to put your book into the resources section and I'm going to get it first and I'm going to read it. And then I'm going to put it in there with a link. So everybody in the Viking Academy will see that the book is there and there's the link and the ability for them to go and do the exploration for themselves as well, because sounds absolutely beautiful. I love it.
Thank you. Well, we are working on a book club guide. So if people want to go through with their book club and read it, that there is a guide for a discussion. We haven't got that done yet, but when I do, I'll send it over and you can put that in as a special resource for your group too.
That'd be awesome. This has been fantastic. I can't wait to get the book. Thank you.
What you think? In your purpose statement, I want to know what it is. Do you have?
Oh yeah, I gotta send you my purpose statement. I will do that. I will do that. I will send you and for all your listeners out there, read the book, send your purpose statement. And if not, join the Viking Academy and the resources will be in there as well. So Jessica, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been awesome.
Thank you for having me. It's so fun.
Thanks for listening to the Viking Academy podcast. Make sure to leave us your honest feedback by leaving a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode.